This is Dr. Willie Chu. Have you been viewing Couples Therapy? We're at segment number 5. It's a good one for you. Now I want you to take heart and listen to what Dr. Hurley has to say concerning couples coming together and united, being one, and taking their lives to the next level. Enjoy segment number 5.
Last week I was talking to a woman who was single, and we were talking about the things she's looking for in a prospective husband. Among the things that she mentioned was a man that was good with children. What she was describing was what I call the need for family commitment. And it is one of the 5 emotional needs that women will generally include in their top emotional needs. The wife has a need, an emotional need, for him to be involved in the education and development of the children. And by doing that, it makes love bank deposits. So one of the things that I highly recommend to couples is for them to develop in their schedule something I call quality family time. Quality family time is where the family is together as a unit for the purpose of educating their children and giving them high moral standards. And they can do that best with the husband and the wife together. They need to be coordinated in their efforts. So we talked in the last session about the importance of undivided attention, 15 hours of undivided, and I explained to you that it's possible. Well, I have something new for you to consider, and that is quality family time. Quality family time, from my perspective, requires an additional 15 hours. But it's a very different 15. In a way, it's much easier. For example, I encourage family meals together. Well, you got to eat. So during the time that you would normally be eating anyway, you simply decide to eat together as a family. Right. That's part of quality family time. The time you go to church. If you're doing it together as a family, if it's together, it has to be together. You have to be in the same room. You have to be thinking about each other, working with each other. Whatever you do together counts as quality family time. But what's the main purpose of quality family time? It's to educate your children morally. Morally educate your children. Let me suggest something that I consider to be one of the most important moral lessons. Thoughtfulness. Thoughtfulness. Considering someone else when you do something. Thinking about the other guy. Now, we started out this whole series with me telling you that everything you do affects each other. You're either depositing love units or you're withdrawing love units. And what I want to encourage you to do is affect each other positively and to avoid affecting each other negatively. Well, that's a lesson for children to learn. It's important for children to understand that they affect other people. And so before they do anything, the question is, how are other people being affected by it? To be thoughtful simply means you're thinking about someone else before you do it. Now you can see that as a family, if you're all together as a family, that is a very, very important lesson to learn because there's plenty of opportunity to teach that lesson wouldn't you say, with 5 children?
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot more than what you need sometimes.
Plenty of opportunity. And if you teach your children thoughtfulness, what will happen to your time together as a family?
Would get better.
Yeah, better.
Much more enjoyable. So you see, my 15 hours of quality family time has the husband and the wife and all the children together as a family, 15 hours a week, where thoughtfulness is high on the agenda. And you can see that by doing that, not only is your family going to grow up peacefully, that you won't have riots on your hands, you will also find that the children will grow up with a perspective on life that will lead them to success. And Jesus Christ himself says this over and over and over again. If we do this to the least of these, my brethren, you do it unto me. Now, what are some of the things that you need to pay close attention to in the topic of child rearing? One is that all of your decisions should be made jointly. Neither one of you should unilaterally decide anything regarding your children. If you have a conflict about whether or not you should spank them or send them to their room or give them an ice cream cone, you should make the decision away from the children so that they're not hearing any of this. Come to an enthusiastic agreement and then present your agreement to the children. If your child comes to you and says, "Can I have this?" I've got to talk it over with my husband. We got to talk it over. Your children need to know that the orders are coming from 2 places at once, and the 2 of you are united. Now, that is one of the most important lessons in thoughtfulness, because you are teaching your children, your mom and I are thoughtful. We think about each other. We care about each other. We don't fight. We never fight. We never fight. What we do instead is discuss the differences that we have, come to an agreement, and we'll present you with our agreement. As soon as you fight, what are you teaching your children? The opposite of thoughtfulness. You're not teaching them to be thoughtful, you're teaching them to be selfish. Because only selfish people fight. Now, the thing that you have to think about in terms of agreement is, the question is, well, then does anytime a child wants anything, do we have to sit and talk about it? Not necessarily. Not if you've already come to an agreement about that particular thing. I mean, you don't have to be on the phone all day long about every issue that comes up, because some issues will be settled. You'll know what to do. Never lose your temper with your children. Never. An angry outburst is a moment of temporary insanity. You should have a videotape of what you look like when you are losing your temper. And imagine your child viewing that. The question is the child going to learn anything from it? Or is the child going to think my dad is crazy? And I'm not going to really pay much attention to what he's saying, because he is so upset that I just have to get out of the way and hope that this never happens again. But he's not going to learn a lesson. The child will not learn a lesson when you've lost your temper. All the child is going to do is see you when you're crazy. So if you get upset enough where you think you're going to lose your temper, and what you're going to say to your child is disrespectful and not right and something your spouse would not have enthusiastically agreed to, take a break. Calm down. Relax. And you say, well, if I do that, then the opportunity to teach the child a lesson will be gone. I say, I don't care. If the option is to do nothing or to lose your temper, do nothing. Because what you do when you lose your temper is terribly inappropriate. It is child abuse. And your child is not going to learn anything more than my parent doesn't deserve my respect. Well, we're going to leave the topic of family commitment and go to another one that gets me into a ton of trouble, and that is the topic of physical attractiveness. Physical attractiveness is a need that both men and women have, but by and large, a man puts physical attractiveness much higher on the list of emotional needs than women do. And it has been a point of discussion for me for years, especially by women who have told me that I should not emphasize physical attraction because it is something that we shouldn't encourage in men, okay? My point is that it definitely deposits love units for a man. It is a huge emotional need in the sense that he needs her to be attractive. Every time he looks at her, love units are deposited if she is physically attractive. So, given that particular topic, I start out by saying that every man is different. Some men don't have the need for physical attractiveness. They say that it's not important to me. In all honesty, as I tell you the truth, you can look as ugly as you want, and I'll love you.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
But for men who, just like we talked about affection, and the question is, well, what is affection? Well, affection is the expression of care. Well, physical attractiveness is whatever it is that attracts a man. Now, generally speaking, a man will marry a woman who he finds physically attractive. So we're not talking about the woman being something different than he married. Usually what he married was fine. And also men will tell me that the way they would like to see their wife develop can change from one man to another. But I will say that 90% of the complaints that I get, and by the way, not every man complains, but 90% of the complaints I get about physical attractiveness are about weight control. And the problem that you run into with weight gain is that we eat more and we exercise less. And in order to stay the right weight, you have to make sure that if you're going to eat more, you have to exercise more. So that means that if you really want to lose weight, you have to do two things. You have to watch your diet very carefully, and that you need to join some sort of an exercise program. And when you've done it, everybody that has ever lost a lot of weight looks at the camera and says, I'm as happy as I've ever been. It is a big, big deal.
Let me ask you a question. Regarding physical attractiveness, and typically it's the man's need, how important a need is it? Now, we talked about the two top ones for the man and the woman. Now, physical attractiveness is down the line a bit in the top 5, correct?
Yes.
So if the wife does not conform to his interest in her becoming more like maybe they were when they were dating or when they first got married, what happens? Is he going to lose a lot of love units?
Well,
Or is she going to lose a lot of love units?
Here's what I usually say is that if you don't meet one of the top 5 emotional needs, you'll be at risk because somebody else is going to come in and meet that need. And so to some extent, you want to be good at all 5 of them. But I will say this, that if you're really good at 1 and 2, sexual fulfillment, recreational companionship, and you're sort of good at 3, 4, and 5, that'll work. If you're no good at all of one of them, 1 of 3, 4, and 5, you might have problems. You might have some problems. But you're right, you might not too. You might have enough love units to keep you over the romantic love threshold.
Also, physical attractiveness. Bill and I talk a lot with each other about clothing. And I'll be picking outfits, and I never do anything I don't like myself. But if I'm quandering between 2 pieces, I'll say, which do you like? And I will go with the one that he likes. So why not be dressing in the outfit that he finds the best? So, it's not just a physical issue, it's a dressing, appearance type issue.
Now, how do you do that? You bring your spouse along when you go to buy clothes.
That means shopping.
That is what, yeah. And I would say, this is what Joyce will do. She'll say, how do I look in this outfit? Now, sometimes I'll go with her shopping.
Sometimes I'll bring it home.
Sometimes she'll bring it home. But the basic idea is that if I don't find it attractive, she doesn't wear it.
I don't buy it. I don't keep it.
She doesn't keep it.
Yeah.
And the basic idea is, should a woman dress for her husband? Absolutely, but the rule is she has to like what she's wearing, too.
Absolutely.
So
I don't compromise what I
It's got to
like.
work both ways. Makeup. Some women are really good at makeup. They know exactly what works. Other women don't. And it's a good idea to get some ideas from a makeup specialist, which are available free of charge at every cosmetics counter.
It is.
And they sit there waiting for you to show up so that they can show you how to use
It's free
their
of charge,
product.
the demonstration, the product you buy, right? Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
And,
Now-
and some women don't even care to wear makeup, and their husband likes it that way, and they like it that
Mm-hmm.
way. So it's also individual. But the idea is that you're putting your likes together.
There's hairstyle. Basically, a man likes some hairstyles and doesn't like others. In choosing a hairstyle, for both men and women, you have to realize that the person who is going to see it the most and appreciate it the most is your spouse. And so you should consider your spouse when you're looking at hairstyle. Now, there's one more category when it comes to physical attractiveness that applies to men, and that is personal hygiene. I believe that a man should take a shower at least once a day. Men should brush their teeth at least twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. Women are very sensitive to smell. And if a man's breath is at all bad, he needs to take care of it. As far as deodorants that you might use, have your spouse, have your wife pick one out for you. Because the scent that there might be available that you would like might not be something that she would find attractive, something that you should do together. The basic idea of hygiene for men generally is to be clean and smell good. If you can do that, you've solved most of the problems that women have with men. Well, just to wind up what we've talked about today, family commitment and physical attractiveness really don't have anything in common. They're basically 2 different emotional needs. One is essentially for women, the other is essentially for men. The family commitment need has great depth and meaning to it. This is one of the reasons that a lot of women will say that the men's needs really are superficial and not too important. Physical attractiveness, for example. But my argument is, look, let's pay attention to what deposits love units. And I will grant you that what women want in a marriage has a great deal of meaning to it. She wants affection. She wants intimate conversation. She wants great communication. These are all things that everybody would say they have great philosophical meaning. Very important. What are men wanting? Fun and festivity. They want the wife to look great. My argument is this. As a man, I'm very much aware of male needs. And I'm very much aware of how important it is for the man to become a part of the family, for him to be integrated into the marriage, for him to consider the marriage to be a part of himself. The 2 becoming one means that he is just as happy with the situation as she is. And in order for that to be the case, you cannot deny his emotional needs. You can't say that these needs are not worth meeting, because if you do that, you're going to lose his love for his wife. And when you do that, tragedy takes place. So my argument has always been, I want you, wife, to look at your husband as somebody who has these needs. They're very deep. They're very important. They need to be met. God wants you to meet them. I want to encourage the man to do a great job creating a family where children learn valuable lessons. But I want a woman to make sure that he enjoys the process and that he's a participant in that process.